The day I landed here, it was pretty cold because where I come from, it's usually 30 degrees, 30, 40 degrees. And I actually liked it because I could actually, you can tell the difference between the air. Like I could actually breathe here. So I fell in love with this place.
I think that as someone who really likes cold weather, I'm biased and I actually really like it in here because if I wake up and I take off my bed sheets, it's usually like, ooh, it's chilly. And Brazil is just way too hot, right? So I'm just used to the reverse weather. Coming here was a pretty funny surprise because when people told me, yeah, you're not ready for the minus 20s or minus 30s, I was like, surely they're joking. There's no way we get to those temperatures, but then we did, and I initially was scared, but then I think I kind of got used to it at this point. I would much rather have the colder days and the warmer days because I think it's much more comfortable, but then again, that's, I think, personal preference. I'm Nelson Kiyoshi Kossuga. I come from Brazil, and the way I got here was I just watched a YouTuber and she does a lot of lectures like for free and her content's available online. And one of the days I just saw her thank Future Games for letting me stream this and letting me showcase this in my content. And I got curious, like, what's Future Games? And essentially that's how I figured out that I wanted to come here. And I'm studying game programming pretty much because of her. So thanks, Freya.
So I'm Sushant Bhonde and I'm from India. I came here almost exactly 1 year ago in 5 days. And I study game design in Future Games. And I'm a second year student. I think studying in Boden is way better than Stockholm, in my opinion, or like any bigger cities. The only issue I have is there's very few food options here. But other than that, I actually prefer Boden. One, it was like the housing was pretty close and I didn't have to search manually because in Stockholm it's impossible for an outsider to search for housing. But here it was pretty easy because the Boden Business Park kind of helped us along with the school, to set up a link with the modules.
We have a student dorm, which is a building about 10 to 15 minutes from walking from here. It's a cozy little place, you know. Everyone has their rooms and we all share a little bit of time together. I think it's really nice to also socialize because although we work together, we only really get to like effectively know each other at a, I would say, more personal level when we do stuff at home, like we watch movies together, or sometimes we just hang around during the weekends having fika and all that stuff.
And I unironically don't like being around too many people because it's nice to have less people around you, because from where I am from, there's far too many people. And I prefer Boden because there's no people here because the population is around 28-30,000. And that's basically the same population as my street back home, so it's pretty fun.
I grew up in what in Brazil we would call a very tiny city. And my city has double the population size of Boden. So then coming here, they felt at home because I like, you know, the tiny city aesthetics and, you know, like not a lot of population and not that thing where you get into a bus and it's just like super crowded and crammed. But it's also pretty, it's pretty unique. It's like you can't really experience the city and, you know, the whole atmosphere of being in a tiny town where you actually have, you know, people doing games and doing technology stuff and simultaneously have what I think is a really good life. It's really, you know, slowed down, but you can still do things because that's just not something you can do in my country. In Brazil, it's usually like if you have a small city, there is nothing to do. You usually you can walk around the city and that's that. But in here, you actually have like, you can go to restaurants and have fun with friends. And I think that also the school being in the city provides a lot of like student trafficking, you know, around. And I think that's really good.
I actually have experience in the game industry because I was QA. I was doing QA back home for a pretty big company called Ubisoft, and I did, I think, around 4.5 years. but it's like they say, all QAs are wannabe designers, and that's true. So I always had an eye for game design, and I ended up here because I actually knew a friend who knew a friend who had someone working from Future Games with them. The education is really good compared to what I've known back home in India, because I was in a vocational education as well back in India, but the amount of theoretical education and the actual practical education there's a big difference here. I can't remember theory a lot, so I prefer practical education, which the school does. So it's pretty perfect for me because the school tries to simulate actual work environment.
You have to do a little bit of research, and you have to kind of find the stuff you want to do and find the challenges. And I think it's probably like my favorite way to not just develop games, but to learn things in general now, where I just find a problem that I want to solve and then by myself come up with solutions, or well, with research from the internet, sure, because hey, everybody uses the internet. But yeah, I think that the education system is really interesting and really novel to me in a way that slowly and steadily I felt at home at it. Yeah.
Well, I really want to settle in Sweden, and hopefully, I don't know why I want to live in Boden afterwards, but there's no big companies in Boden right now. But I really like Boden a lot. Yeah.